Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with another review. Yeah, bear with me while I talk with a stuffy ass nose. But coming at you with another Italian Giallo film. I know it's been a little while since I've done one. I've got like 4 or 5 left, so I just want to get through them. This is another Dario Argento film, and this might actually be one of his best ones. That is Tenebre, which for a while I called it Tenebre. That's how I've heard it called, but I guess it's Tenebre. It's also spelt differently depending on where you are. A little backstory. It was released as Unsane in the US with more than 10 minutes cut, which, holy shit, that's a lot of movie to cut. And, just recently, the last few years, it was released completely uncut. Now, this came out in 1982, and Argento was inspired to write this because his films before this was Suspiria and Inferno. Supernatural horror films that were not Giallos, which is what he's known for. And I guess a crazed fan was sending him letters saying his movies really traumatized him mentally, and he was receiving death threats, and he kind of used that experience to write another Giallo film. And you can sort of feel the inspiration when you watch this. This one is definitely more mean-spirited than the last ones. I mean, his other Giallos, it sort of feels... He's always treated death as sort of like art. He always does something with camera work or music whenever there's a death, no matter how gory it is. This one is presented almost like a slasher film. I mean, it's definitely mean-spirited. It's definitely in your face. Almost as if to say, oh, you want me to go back to Giallo films? Well, here, fucking enjoy this. And I'll say, I really enjoyed this. This is definitely... It doesn't feel like an Argento film or a Giallo. Again, it feels more like a slasher film, but the mystery's there. Definitely bloody. Like, more so than some of his other ones. So the story is you have, where's the guy's name? Anthony Franciosa, probably pronounced that wrong. He plays an American author named Peter Neal, who's known for violent horror novels. And he's in Rome to promote his latest book, which is called Tenebre. And his book is actually inspiring a serial killer to go around and kill women. And of course, along with him, he has his literary agent, played by John Saxon. It's always great to see John Saxon from Nightmare on Elm Street, Black Christmas. His assistant of 6 years, played by Argento veteran actress Dario Argento. He also has this other younger assistant played by Christian Borromeo. Probably pronounced that wrong too. He was the head rich kid on House on the Edge of the Park. And, basically the film opens up with someone reading a passage from his book Tenebre, throwing it in the fire. Excuse me. Allergy season sucks. And, the first victim we see is this shoplifter, who's a woman, and she gets stabbed, and she gets pages ripped out of Tenebre and stuffed into her mouth. It's kind of silly looking. It's intense and silly looking at the same time. Each kill keeps progressively getting more and more intense. And basically, it's the author, Peter Neal, his assistant, sometimes his agent, and his younger assistant from House on the Edge of the Park, trying to figure out who the killer is. And then you get, this police chief who comes in once in a while, also to help out. And, you know, it doesn't really point at red herrings as much as you would think it would. But, you know, there's a lot going on. There's plenty of deaths. I mean, also, we see this image of, there's a silhouette of a guy, you know, with his hands on his head, having like a fit, screaming. Then we get this image of this beach with this young woman flirting with numerous amounts of men. One guy slaps her, and they all hold him down. She kicks him repeatedly, and she has red high heels, and kicks him in the face, and even shoves the heel down his throat. So we're meant to believe this is the killer. These are his visions that he's sort of haunted by. And just anyone that he sort of comes in contact about his book ends up being killed. I mean, there's a journalist, a lesbian journalist, who her and her lover are killed. Probably one of the more famous scenes of the movie. You know, she goes to put a shirt on, her shirt's over her head, and there's like a cut in the shirt. See blood splatter on her face. Her lover gets stabbed. But before this happens, you know, it shows the journalist, and there's literally a 3-minute tracking shot going out the window, up another window to where her lover is, all around the house, while it plays the theme music composed by Goblin. Which this, along with Phenomena, is probably the best score for an Argento film. It's like this. I can't do music with my mouth very well, especially when I'm stuffy as shit. Cool beat, cool sounding music. I really like it. 3-minute tracking shot, then it comes back to where we were. That's when she gets like stabbed through the shirt. Also living at that time with Peter Neal and his assistant is his landlord and his teenage daughter, who sort of has a thing with the house on the edge of the park kid. She's walking home. Oh, and also when he kills, he takes pictures. And we see, you know, sort of what his inside of his house looks like. And he's has pictures of dead girls everywhere. So his teenage daughter is walking home one night. She walks by this fence with this mean-ass Doberman for no reason. She kind of teases it, like hits the fence with a stick. Doberman gets over the fence, and there's a long chase scene. He attacks her a few times. She ends up on the property and in the house of the killer. She takes some of the pictures because I think she recognizes the bodies from, you know, seeing them work on it. Killer sees her, kills her with an axe. I don't really want to give too much away because this one had the most surprising ending. So I'm going to say spoilers here. But definitely, as far as Giallos go, I mean, I still really like Burned with Crystal Plumage. I really liked Phenomena, but you know who the killer was kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. I really like Tenebre. This is probably my new favorite Giallo by him. It's definitely his bloodiest. That helps out a lot. Surprise ending, like multiple surprise endings. So, spoilers here. Definitely recommend it. This is an Argento film you gotta see. Very good. So, spoilers from here on out. And you know, for a while they think it might be this sort of TV critic who sort of has like this prude sort of outlook on Neal's work. Sorry. So, you know, Neal and the young kid are gonna do some of their investigation work. They go to his house, which we as the viewer already know what that house is. But, and you know, the TV critic is standing in this certain area where you can't see who's standing in front of him. He gets hit in the head with an axe. And for a while, the kid is traumatized by this image. Neil is hit in the head with something, so they escape. And basically then, this is where the plot starts thickening and a lot starts happening. You know, Neil and his assistant, played by Dario Argento, who's also in Deep Red, Phenomena, Inferno. They sleep together even though he has a fiance. Then you find out John Saxon, his agent, and his fiance are having an affair. His fiance gets a gift of red high heels. John Saxon is stabbed to death in like a town square area. And then for a while you might think it could be the assistant. It might actually be the assistant. Because the kid sort of overcomes his fear and goes back to the house to see if he sees it, maybe he can piece something back together. And he realizes that what the critic was saying to the killer was there's actually two killers. Before he can tell anybody, he's garroted in his car. So, and then it even points, maybe it's his assistant, Anne, Dario Argento. So when it shows his fiance, Anne, the killer comes over, and this is the most glorious death in all of Argento films that I've seen so far. An axe comes through the window, hits her in the arm, cuts her arm off. She's going like this. I mean, geyser of beautiful looking blood is just covering the walls. Comes in, hits her a few times with the axe. It looks great. Come to find out, the killer is Neil himself. You find out that, yeah, he found out that the critic was the killer. And he killed the critic. But he figured he could sort of, because he got rid of the body, he figured he could sort of make it seem like he was alive a little bit longer, enough to get rid of his fiance and his agent who were having an affair. Something he couldn't live with, two people he hated, but he just kind of snapped. Of course, his assistant and the captain walk in. Neil's kind of lost his mind. He then goes to slit his throat. So you're like, holy shit. We find he faked his death. It's like this straight edge razor that squirts blood. Him and Anne are out in the car, and he explains, the whole thing with the ocean and the girl with the heels. Realize that, it was a girl that Neil knew when he was younger. I think it alludes to that he killed her. Doesn't right come out and say it, but I mean, we can kind of put that together. And that sort of planted a seed, and then he became this violent horror author, so it was sort of always there. Goes back inside, realizes it was a fake razor. He faked his death. I will call BS on the ending, because there's like this big sculpture with like spikes and pointy things. He kills the captain. The thing falls on the door, but when Anne finally gets the door open, one falls off the sculpture, goes through him and into the wall, and then it just fucking ends. I'll call BS on that, but it looked cool. So yeah. Tenebre, definitely a great Giallo. It had its twists and turns. Didn't have as many red herrings as you would think. The blood and the gore was definitely there. You can definitely feel Argento, especially a movie like Inferno that he put a lot of heart and soul into and is very proud of. It wasn't as well received, not just by the crazy fan, but people in general. He probably felt trapped in doing Giallo, so that's probably why he did this. Just bloody, in-your-face, mean-spirited assault of a Giallo film. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is definitely the bloodiest one that I've seen so far. I think this one is widely known as his bloodiest and his most gruesome. It was on the video nasty list for some time. A lot of his movies were. A lot of bullshit movies were. But yeah, like this is a new kind of film, like when I think of Dario Argento. Even though film-wise, look-wise, it is very different. It's not stylized like a typical Argento film. You do get some beautiful tracking shots, like that one that's like 3 minutes all throughout the windows in the house. But it really feels like Argento, like it almost feels like a glorified Fulci film. If you've seen it and you've seen Fulci films, you probably know what I mean. It's sort of that perfect blend in between Fulci and Argento. But you know, it doesn't have the striking visuals that his movies usually have. But it does have great blood, great gore, and great kills. And a good mystery. One hell of a twist ending that just keeps on twisting. So yeah, definitely a solid Argento film. Probably my favorite Giallo he's done. So yeah, Tenebre, I was impressed with it. For room 237, that's Tenebre. Thank you.